Good evening, everyone. It's November 29th, 2023, and we had a pretty interesting session. Now, GDP numbers came out pretty strong, as far as I know, and I was looking for the gap up to get faded. So that was kind of my base thesis coming into the day, and really I wanted to see it happening on the Russell. And I was looking for a Russell short. Instead, the market started to pump upwards, and that fade idea kind of vanished from my head. Um, bonds were, I believe, bonds were going up, TLT and all that. The dollar was headed down, and accordingly, stocks were headed up. That was not something. That was pretty much the inverse of what I was expecting. And then shortly after that, we had well, you can see we had the result, a nice sell-off. Um, we sold off really hard. Actually, just got this little footprint thing, and you could see the selling was quite strong on there. And we sold off, got into the gap, eventually closed the gap, which I was not actually expecting given how far up we advanced, but we did get heavy, heavy selling here, closed the gap, and we were churning there for a while. There were some large numbers printing out there, and we were unable. That seller came back, and this is actually nicer to see on the ES. Go to a 30-minute chart here. You can see this is what I'm talking about. This last week's high, that 80 half number, that was sort of the critical spot to me. And you can see there's the low of the IB, and that's pretty much where we failed, right around the 80 half number. Sold even heavier, and then we had this low volume cover, low volume, low volume, low volume cover, right back to that critical 77 area. That lines up with yesterday's high, as where we consolidated pre-market during the European ramp, and that's where I got short, 77.25, wrote it down to whatever, I think 67 or something like that. And from there, we got down once again to that 55 number, 55 half settlement lows, and also where we were repeatedly bid yesterday, where I think I also got long. I was looking on the footprint there, and I was saying, maybe this is a long, but 20 minutes into the end of the day, probably not the best idea to take it. But we did get that nice covering. So where are we sitting now? Let's go back to this chart. We are back inside this balance. We're back inside this box, okay? That's how I'm looking at it, is that we are back inside this box for the millionth time. And now it's a matter of, okay, we looked above the box, came back in, went back to kind of the midpoint there. That's nice. Went back to the midpoint, found bids. That was also the point of control from yesterday, I believe. And that's why I got short there, was because it was back to the top of the balance. Now we're back to the bottom of the balance. Now, do we also peak below? That's kind of the question, right? We peaked above, we failed, we came all the way back to the bottom, and I would imagine that we break the bottom tomorrow. So that's how I'm going to be kind of looking at this, is that I think here may be a fade, as that's been the primary area where we've been selling. That's something like, what, 71? Yeah, 71-ish on the ES, kind of lines up with this initial high from that Monday. It's a little bit different on the S&P. The cash is a bit lower right over there, but somewhere around there, kind of at 71, let's call it 71 to 81. So this original high from Monday up to that last week's high, this is the zone I'm looking for a sell, if there is one. If we breach kind of this is 77-ish on the ES. Here you go. That's that number. That's the point of control. If we breach here, I imagine we'll take out this high, get above last week's high, 80 half once again, and then eventually true through here and get into 4,600 or what have you. Interestingly enough, right now in Globex, we are trading below value area low at 63 and a quarter. So perhaps we are in for a further move downwards. That's not too great of a sign that we're trading below value. And I'm actually just looking at this. We closed below value as well. Closed at 45.60 and value at 63 quarters. So this would be in favor of a further push downwards, which is what I was hinting at. If we do push down, I'm looking for some bids here. That's about 45, 43, something like that, right? That was where we had the This overnight bid, that was where we kept staying bid crazily enough on that Tuesday session. I think we were waiting for some news or something that day. That was where we had that bond auction rip us upwards on the on that prior Monday. If we do not hold there, I'm looking for a move down to around last week's low, 45.25, right here, 45.25. Maybe we hold whatever this is, 33-ish, but I think we'd be looking to get down to that 25 number. Don't know if any of that happens, right? NASDAQ. Where are we trading on the NAS? There's value area low at 29. Looks like we managed to close. We also closed below value on the NASDAQ. The NASDAQ actually looking like a possible news failure event, as Shapiro would say, in that bonds, I think yields were down, which would encourage a green market, but instead we had, I mean, very clearly a red market. So that would be a thought that there's a news fail here, and these retail guys who are super loaded up, the most loaded up they've been since the pre-bear market, that they might get flushed out. Now, on the NASDAQ, I'm looking at it pretty similarly to the ES, right? We kind of broke out of this box here that we had. We broke the upside of the box. We came back inside the box, right? Sold back inside, and then we failed to breach it. Now we're back to kind of the middle of the box. And if it's going to follow what the ES is doing, I imagine we come down to the lows of the box. How am I looking to trade it? Get rid of the indicators. There we go. Much like ES, where I'm looking to get short somewhere between 71 and 77-ish, similar idea. Trying to get short somewhere around here, whatever that is, 16,040 or something. 10-minute chart. Yeah, about 16,040. Anywhere from 16,040 up to this high. I think that's 16,080. Yeah, about 100. If we breach that, I might imagine we get above here, about 16,120-ish, and then eventually chew through this high. I don't want to be bid here. This is roughly, I believe, this should be around 16,000. Yeah, the weekly open is right here. That's about 16,000. I think it's 15,999. I don't see that holding again. And instead, I think we'll end up we'll have broken the daily low, and I would be targeting T+2 lows, which are down here, whatever that is, probably 15,070-ish, right? There, come on, show me. 15,960. That's where I think we'll get into, and I imagine we'll actually flush that and get into the similar area as the ES right here, whatever this is, and really I think would be looking at last week's low, and that's been kind of the narrative I've been pushing all week, is that I think we're going to break last week's low, and I think today was the perfect example of it, right? This is kind of a perfect scenario. I want to just show this chart here. This is a cash session on the NASDAQ. If you wanted to, you could draw this out as the give me a 2-hour chart here or something, or daily. Yeah, that's fine. Here is your buying climax. If you were to do a Wyckoff schematic, here's your buying climax. Here's your preliminary supply. Here's I'm just grabbing my paper to see this properly. Your automatic rally, your secondary test. Here is your up thrust now, and we should now sort of come into here, get some sort of churn, a possible run at the highs or not. So this would be supportive of testing that kind of, where is it? It'd be supportive of back testing this sort of area, and then finally getting the proper short, right? That's what you'd be kind of looking for. And so far we're getting it. There's your preliminary supply, there's your buying climax, there's your automatic rally into the secondary test, there's your up thrust, and now we should get a little bit of churn, a little bit of a back test, and then crap out. Anyway, that's how I'm looking at these markets. Hope that makes sense. Hope that helps. Anything happening here? ZB, ZNDX, XC. Yeah. Yeah, there you go. Bonds closed very nicely up, yet the NASDAQ is down. Gold maintaining its gap up. Crude up, supportive of dollar weakness or currency weakness. Anyway, hope that makes sense. Hope that helps. Have a great night. Trade safe.